Chinese President Xi Jinping will soon arrive in the U.S. for his first state visit. The first stop, Seattle, before he travels to Washington, D.C. and New York. Xi's highly anticipated visit is expected to strengthen economic and trade cooperation and help develop deeper understanding of the two nations. CCTV's Nathan King has a preview.
It's a trip that begins in the northwest of the United States in Washington state, then across the country to Washington, D.C. for a state visit and on to New York. The trip builds on the visit by the U.S. president to Beijing late last year, where both sides announced a historic climate change agreement. Since then, the relationship has been rocky. U.S. allegations of cyber hacking by Chinese nationals, Chinese concerns over flights by U.S. aircraft off the Chinese coast, South China Sea territorial issues, and U.S. concerns over the Chinese economy and stock market. Some experts on the U.S.-China relationship think that President Xi's visit can go a long way to reassure the U.S. about Chinese policy.
I hope that President Xi Jinping could use this opportunity to communicate with American people regarding the China's foreign policy, even introduce more about himself, his wishing about China, and to let the American people know more about, what is China's intentions.
That's already been happening. Ahead of President Xi's arrival, senior Chinese officials launched China Book Month by highlighting President Xi's thoughts on China's ambitious reform program. The Chinese speakers there think this visit can help explain China's economic shift.
Because it's still relatively new and it's still in the early phase of his reform. So that's why people could hardly catch the essence of his reform.
As both the Chinese and American presidents have found out before, there is no substitute for face-to-face meetings to try and forge what China calls a new model of major power relations, where a rising power like China can compete but also cooperate with the US. Those face-to-face meetings will happen here at the White House first, an informal dinner between the two presidents, then the following evening, the full state dinner. Both Beijing and Washington hope there'll be progress on the much-waited-for bilateral investment treaty and perhaps also establishing rules of the road when it comes to cybersecurity. The climate change deal inked in Beijing last year shows what can happen when two countries of this size work together. Nathan King, CCTV, Washington.